This month, we have been working in sacral chakra, which is the real deep seat of our emotional awarenesses, which can be challenging if you are witnessing some challenging emotions, emotional realities that maybe we don't want to hang out in. Or it tends to be, at least I speak from personal experience, that I love hanging out in and swimming in pleasant emotions. I love, feeling groovy. I love feeling happy. I love feeling peace. I love, humor and serenity and, all these lovely, connective, great feelings. And especially when they're in direct connection to my relationships. My relationships are sources of light most of the time. Most of the time. Right? Our family connections, our closest friendships, our connections to our children, our romantic relationships, our professional relationships with colleagues, they can be some of the most supportive, lovely, wonderful experiences you will ever have. And they can also be the source of the most pain and drama and trauma and hurt. This, like, we can get caught in a lot of stuff. And then also, talk about attachment. I'm attached to a mat. Think about how attached I am to my partner. Think about how attached I am to my kids. Think about how attached I am to my family, and wanting things to be a certain way, and then coming to sometimes the reality that it's not what I wanted it to be, or it's not what I expected it to be. Managing big waves of disappointment, managing regret, managing, um, how you deal with somebody who hurts you, managing that feeling of wanting someone to fill you and give to you what you crave and what you need, but they can't. It's like, what do we do with that? Mourning the grief of sometimes the reality of these situations or these relationships, and especially when relationships end, whether whether we wanted it to end or not, whether it was because of a death, whether it was because of just a transition in the relationship. When we see, as we go back and then comb through, if you're one of those people that goes over circumstances and situations like, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? How could I have avoided this? I should have been the one to have seen this coming, and I could have done something about it. If you assume all of that responsibility, or if you take the victim role. They did this to me. Why did this happen again? I can't believe that I let myself. And it's like, do we shut down? We say, that's it, never again. It's like, never going to do that again, close up that door to my heart. Nope, people suck. This is what happens. All men are jerks. All women do this. It's like, when we start thinking about what we say in response to these big feelings is also a pretty indicative tell to what we want, what the work that we have to do, particularly around non-attachment. It's a really challenging aspect of the yoga philosophy to embrace non-attachment, to understand that to practice an active form of non-attachment is not to not love or not care. In fact, it's that you love and care so much that you understand and you release them. It's like, I know. It's like, I'm sorry for the things that I've done, and I'm sorry for the things that I haven't done. It's like, when we can transition relationships a little bit more gracefully and not just blame or shut down completely and think, that's it, I never want to get hurt like that again, so it's better off to be alone. It's like, it's actually really a far better approach in terms of non-attachment is to say, well, I'm willing to try again, but to be a little more conscious this time of my boundaries, or conscious this time of how somebody can hurt me, or conscious this time about what I did to maybe invite this energy into my life. And what can I do better to make it safer for me to be in relationship with somebody, and how can I be safe for someone else? Sometimes we look at relationships to kind of fill these holes. It's like, I don't really want anybody to fill anything. I'd actually like to be a whole person that I bring to relationships. So how can I be safe for someone else is really then how I show up. And my practice of non-attachment is to not lower my expectations of other people. Because now this is another one. I think it was Robin Williams that said like, oh yeah, well, codependency, it's like you can't lower your standards fast enough. They just keep like disappointing you, and it's like, well, okay, I forgive that, I forgive this, oh, I forgive that. It's like, don't lower your standards, but understand that human beings are sometimes unconscious, and they're sometimes going to hurt you, and they're sometimes going to be insensitive, and they're sometimes going to be mean. And that's just sometimes the way that things are. And we don't want to shut down everything and throw away the baby with the bathwater, but we do want to find a middle point of how we can practice non-attachment so that we can then set the stage for others to be able to do the same. And then we're co-creating this relationship that's kind of like a flexible, fluid bond moving like an ocean between two shores. That's really where we're not filling each other up. We're kind of holding space for each other to continue to move and grow. Long-term relationships can be like that, and sometimes you're going to be in the stormy sea, and then other times it's going to be really serene, and you float in each other and hold each other in that way. But it's also transformative growth. Relationships can be super intense and really bring up all of the things that you need to witness about how you need to change. And without blame or judgment, there's this great triangle. If I had my whiteboard, I could write it for you right now. But I learned about it in my shamanic training, that there's the kind of like a Bermuda triangle of relationship dynamics, where it's the victim, a perpetrator, and a rescuer. And there's this energy that sometimes we go from being a victim and then we become the rescuer, because we know, oh, this happened to me and I know what it's like to be, this happened to me throughout my life. So I'm going to go and save the day. Now I'm going to change and I'm going to see, I can save you, I can save you, I can save you. But through being a rescuer, we then become a perpetrator of a different kind. Now we are actually feeding a victim mentality. Usually the rescuer then creates a victim. It's like we don't want to save anybody. We want to give people the tools so that they can save themselves. It's about learning how to be present with someone so that we're not just like pulling them out of the quagmire of their self all the time, but we're giving them these little tools so that they learn how to swim. I don't need to rescue you. I just want to kind of teach you how to swim, and then we'll swim together. Yay, nobody's saving anybody. The perpetrators can sometimes go into a victim. You can go from, we feed it back and forth. Which direction are we working in? Which role are we playing? The yogi and the shaman seeks to step outside of the whole thing and see the Bermuda Triangle of it, how we have engaged in it in the past, and how we want to disconnect from it now moving forward. It's like, I actually want to stand outside of this Bermuda Triangle and not feed any of those roles anymore. I do not want to be a perpetrator. I do not want to rescue anybody, and I don't want to be a victim. I just want to stand in my sovereignty and actually create relationships that feel healthy and stable and that will change, because that's also what they are supposed to do. Not every relationship that you have today is supposed to be here for the rest of your life. Sometimes it's also the trap of our culture and thinking that there's going to be one person who's going to feed you until the day you die or the day they die, and then what are you left with? If we don't take the time to kind of feed ourselves and figure out how to be in our sovereignty alone, then we can't really create a healthy relationship pattern moving forward. So these things need to be contemplated and should be brought up on your mat. This is, yoga is a practice of self-awareness. It is a science of self-awareness. If we are really being honest, we are going to see some of our patterns of behavior and how we treat ourselves. You can see how you treat others or what your relationship style can be by how you show up with yourself. Are we overly aggressive? Do we have high expectations of ourselves? Do we, give up at the first sign of like, oh, forget it, let's just give this up, this is too difficult? It's like, are we afraid of commitment? Do we commit to ourselves? Do we give ourselves, the energy that we deserve, or are we constantly giving it away to others? Are we, how are we really attending to our own needs? If we want to attract a healthy, sustainable relationship dynamic, then we have to have a healthy relationship dynamic within ourselves. And that's the part of personal responsibility that we really want to take. this month in particular, I know now we're starting to get towards the end of the month where we're going to be coming then into the place of the solar plexus. Solar plexus is about your personal power and your individual will to do something different. Put something into motion and see it through to the end. If you have trouble with that, if you have trouble asserting yourself, you have trouble saying what you want, you're constantly a people pleaser, you've been giving your power away for years, it's going to be hard to start making demands or start saying no or start saying yes. It's like these are the places that can get very uncomfortable in ourselves. And I know sacral chakra is usually the month where the practice may churn up things to a degree that relationships will end or new relationships will begin. It's like, ooh, I lit up all my sexual energy and I found and attracted, this person. Or it's like, wow, I really discovered that like my relationship is not okay, and this is not what I need. So there can be a lot of like birth and destruction in sacral chakra month. In solar plexus month, people oftentimes tell me that they quit their job or they're like, screw it, I started my own business. And it's like all of a sudden there are these like things where because they're bosses, they finally were able to like say, it's like if there's something that I get, blamed for, sacral chakra month is either like, I create, it's like divorces happen. It's like, who's this Gina? All of a sudden I get like angry husbands like starting to show up and they're like, my wife never cared about this before and she never started speaking up. And it's like, well, she's speaking up now, so there's a little bit of that. But also in the solar plexus way, it's like, what are you tired of? What are you tired of perpetuating? What have you done with your power all these years? Have you wasted it? Have you frittered it? Have you, given it to people that didn't deserve it? Were you, a little unconscious about it? It's okay. We're all, here to learn something new. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter where you're at, but put it in yourself. It's like it's very easy to make me and yoga a scapegoat. All of a sudden, I realize I am a catalyst energy for a lot of people, and it's not, I don't like it anymore. I used to take pride in being like, yeah, I help people stand up for themselves. It's like, nope, I got people coming after me with pitchforks now. I'm good with that. I don't need the pitchforks, okay? We don't need any torches. I'm going to work on me. You work on you. Whatever happens, you take responsibility for. It's like the new disclaimer. I'm going to have like a new disclaimer. If you quit your job and, move to someplace else and leave your husband of 25 years, it is not my fault. It was like, we're good. I don't need to, I don't want that, energy. I don't take responsibility for that. What I do take responsibility for is creating containers for you to feel yourself. If that's meant to happen, it will happen. It's not me. It's you. It's like it's your energy needing to move in a certain direction. And if you, then find this new awakening, it's not me. Do not put me on a pedestal. I'm a real person with shadows and faults and all of these other things. I am not, special. It's like I just want to say like I have more experience being out there. And doing the work. I'm not afraid as much. Or I should say, I am afraid, but I do it anyway because I don't know how else to be. There's really no other way for me to be. So I just keep doing that. But it's not me. Take responsibility for yourself. It's like you need you to be connected to whatever it is that you are. And when you start operating from that plane, your emotions won't be so scary. You won't be so bowled over by them all the time. People won't piss you off as much. It's like you just see it pretty clearly, like what people are capable of. And then we just kind of keep it moving. And then we radiate and attract the people who will respect the new frequency that you are vibrating at. You won't continue to approach these relationships from the old paradigm. It's a new way. Now there's a new energy that's going to come to you. So in all of that, in your physical practice, remember, it's not all work. It's not all sad. It's not all going to feel this way all the time. It can also feel incredibly pleasurable to enter into these spaces that you've been afraid of for a long time. It's like, oh, I was afraid and this actually feels great. I feel better than I have in years. It's like on the other side of that emotion that you've been avoiding is an incredible freedom, whatever flavor and shade it's going to be. I currently realize that my anger is hilarious. My anger is hilarious. It's like I can make people laugh when I am like unhinged with fury. It is funny. it's like, it's funny. Like, I can just be like, raw, and they're like, oh my God, that's so funny. You should do a stand up. I'm like, I think I'm gonna. It's gonna piss a whole bunch of people off, but I think I'm gonna, because my anger is hilarious. It's funny when it's like so over the top. I stopped trying to think that I need to like rein it in and like say something nicer. No, you know what? This is actually a part of my gift, is to make these uncomfortable things hilarious, because they are. It's like, it's just funny sometimes. My anger is hilarious sometimes, and so is yours. And it's like, there's nothing that we need to hide behind, or we just get comfortable in the discomfort and then kind of see what happens. So in our physical practice, the quiet moments and forward folds, when we're like compressing this area of our body and we're moving our energy inside and we're getting quiet and connected, that's where maybe some images or emotional things can appear, but they're not all bad. Sometimes you'll drift off into a fantasy. Let it happen. It's like, just be in, like, let whatever it is that appear. Allow your mind to kind of wander. Sometimes we don't let our mind wander in practice because we think we're not supposed to. We're supposed to be like all 100% here. If your mind is wandering, let it, let it wander, let yourself wonder, let these little images kind of float in, and then notice, are you becoming obsessive about it and then following it, and then it goes away and then you try to go back to it? Don't do that. Just let some things kind of float up, be curious, and then they'll pass, and then something else may appear and go through. And just really be open to the experience of witnessing it. And then you can actually get some insights, too, about the nature of your emotions and the ones that we've been trying to avoid. And then just allow whatever it is that's here and what's real. Just allow it. It's all okay. You're not alone. So let's close our eyes and come inside. And first, just notice, do we have any particular emotional energy that we've been trying to avoid, or that we didn't think we should indulge? Let's bring it in. You get grounded through your seat, but lift it up out of the lower back, really opening, unhinge the jaw. Take a snapshot of your physical body and what you're feeling today, how you rested, your digestion, any chronic aches or pains, allergies. We're just grateful to be here and what we can offer today. No judgments or expectations about what you should be able to do. As we ground into that, we then scan your mental and emotional spheres. What have you been steeping in lately? And what is the physical, energetic, and emotional impact of those thoughts and feelings? Again, it's all okay, whatever flavor and shade you have. You start to connect to your breath. As you inhale, really flood all the way down to the pelvic floor. And let it go. Releasing and relaxing. We'll do that a few more times. If you'd like to make sound or sigh, please honor it. Two more times. Last one. And let the breath become deep and full. This time layer in your Ujjayi breathing. Ujjayi is an oceanic sound constricting the back of the throat on your inhales and exhales. It's the same muscles that you use when you whisper, or if you're trying to fog up a mirror. This breath will keep you focused and present throughout the entire class, and also help you to digest and burn through whatever you are churning up. We set our collective intentions to really bear witness to our emotional landscape, where we have come from, and what we'd like to feel. Sovereignty in our own being. We open the practice and we join our energy together by chanting Om 3 times. Inhale deeply for Om.